give this a try. Welcome to Scrollin', episode 132. I'm Ket. Joining me this morning is Davius Starjumper. What's up, man?
Man, let's just take a minute Let's take a minute to talk about this here with the new morning setup. It's a little bit rainy outside. I don't know what it's like where you're at.
Sun's shining over here.
Okay.
Actually. Maybe it's headed my way.
We got a little light rain, drinking some coffee.
Oh, okay. Coffee. All right.
You're like, I had you a coffee.
Well, no, I thought you were just doing some morning drinking, you know.
Oh, yeah, I got the old fashioned ready. I'm a couple sips in. Don't worry. No, just kidding. But no, man, this is nice. A little morning coffee, a little rain outside, just talking ESL.
Yeah, it's like the good old days. So yeah, if you haven't gotten the memo, we have a new recording schedule now. So no longer will the episodes be releasing on Wednesdays. It's going to be Saturday, like probably Saturday afternoon instead. And we record Saturday mornings at 9 Eastern. For anyone who's interested in listening in, scrollandpodcast@gmail.com. We'll invite you to the Discord. If you happen to be free, just come listen while we record. You can hear all the stuff that gets edited out. So.
And it's a lot. No.
I mean, you know, depends. So I figured since we're recording on the weekends again, we can return to something that we used to do a long time ago, which is discuss the gold vendor. Let's pull this up here really quick. We have, for the jewelry, it's necklaces. We have Baraha's Curse, Nightmare, Plague Slinger, and Sword Singer. And then for the monster helms, we have Baron Zaldris, Lady Maligdala, and that's it.
Those monster helms, those have some tongue twister names on there for sure.
Is Zaldris the one that has the good one piece? Let me see.
Zaldris is it's the ult gen one, which apparently people are pretty fond of.
Oh yeah, that's a very good. So applying a status effect to an enemy grants you a stack of Zaldris' Ambition, up to 3 stacks. When you gain 3, they're removed and you gain 4 ultimate. So yeah, you can force pulse. You're applying like 3 statuses at a time there. So that's a good one. Especially is it helms? Yeah, so those DLC helms always good to snatch up. That way you don't have to do the dungeon to get it. You know, just grab it. You got it collected. You got all 3 weights there. Just pick them up and you got them. Lady Maligdala too.
Yep, I'm gonna grab the Zaldris for sure. That's one of those sets that, like, you know me, I love me some ult gen, but just the way that set reads off is that it was like every time I've seen it, it's like, oh, my head hurts too much to like try to make this, and so it's like I'll just stick with the Bloodspawn. But I have heard from people.
Much simpler. Yeah. It's much simpler than it reads, I think.
Yes.
Really. Just kind of make a status build and it'll work.
Yes. And you'll get a lot of ult from it. That's really the thing to know there. A lot of people swear by that set and say it is one of the better ult gen opportunities out there. So it's a good one.
Yep. I have heard that.
What about any of the actual gold stuff? Anything in there that you are eyeballing?
Baraha's Curse, baby.
Yep, that's what I thought. That one's that was the one.
No, just kidding. That's a set that I would love for it to be better than it is. I've tried it so many times, and it just never makes it to the final.
You've got a long history with that set. Long history.
Yeah, I like the idea of it.
Plague Slinger's pretty good, right?
Yep, Plague Slinger can be a good one. That's that one that summons that little skeever, right? Is that right?
Yes, and then it.
The skeever corpse. That thing can do good damage. I've actually seen Dragon Knights use that very effectively.
Okay. So not a bad golden. I'm excited for this when I saw that we're talking golden again. I love me a good golden vendor.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things about switching to the weekend schedule here. Yeah. We can do a golden discussion again.
Very nice. There's some good stuff. It's not the best golden, but that's not a bad one. That's really not a bad one.
It's really not bad. Honestly, anytime there's DLC monster sets that I don't have collected yet, that's great. Especially if it's helms, then that's great because I don't like doing the dungeons.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, let's move on. Talk a little bit of public test server. So week 4 was last week. Week 5 just ended. And there's a few things that happen here. So this patch is going live 1 week from Monday, so August 19th on PC. So we're almost there. So first off, for Vampire, they've adjusted the Undeath passive yet again. So if you remember, initially they changed it so that it only required vampire stage 1, and it gave you 10% mitigation. Now they put it back to stage 3, and it's 15%, a maximum of 15% mitigation, depending on your missing health. So basically just a 50% nerf compared to the live version, right? They both require stage 3. It's just 15 versus 30.
I love this change. This is going to be a little selfish, but like, I don't want to be a vampire. I don't want to do this. And so I feel like this change only helps me go, yep, I don't have to be a vampire and everything. And it is a passive that definitely needs to be nerfed. And so now it just seems flat nerf to it. I still think people will use it, which to me says the nerf is right about where it is, because I do think people will still use it, but it's not just almost a requirement for a PvP build at this point.
Yeah, 15% really isn't bad, and this is like common consensus among PvP players. This passive is way too strong. There shouldn't be anything that is just like you have to have it in every single build or your build is bad.
Yeah.
And that's how it's been so far. 15% seems good. You're right. 15% is good. What is ESO Mark of the Pariah?
Oh yeah, how high does that one get up to?
Oh, that gives you basically 10,000 resistance. So here we're doing some morning math.
Morning math.
10,000 divided by 660.
And scrolling math is always on point.
So yeah. So Mark of the Pariah increases your physical and spell resistance by up to 10,206 based on your missing health. So if you have the maximum amount, that's about 15% damage mitigation. So, you're getting a 5-piece set, worth of value here. Of course, you're getting the sustain penalties and all that, but, those sustain penalties are maybe worth giving up a 5-piece set. Those are maybe equivalent, I would say.
Yeah, compared to where it was giving you, basically, you're wearing 2 pariahs with this passive.
Yeah, that's 2 pariahs.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's smart too because like the first change that they made, like making it stage 1 and 10%, basically everybody was going to do that. Like stage 1 is a easy, those penalties are easy to overcome, no big deal at all. And just a free 10% extra mitigation when you're low on health. That was just too much of a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah, that was that. I mean, go back to the selfish side. It was when it was that one. It was like, crap. I'm gonna have to go and become a vamp with every single one of my characters for that easy 10%. So I like that it's back to stage 3. It's still kind of a hassle to deal with, but it's still a really good passive. I found it interesting that the devs basically openly admitted, like, they're not really sure what this is what they're going to go with for now, but they're not really sure what their future plan is for this. They just openly admitted.
Yeah, they say they're not 100% settled on this passive, but basically we're just going to try this for now. Is what it said.
There was just true transparency right there. They're like, yeah, we don't know either. Yeah, it is nice. It's nice to know. Like it's cool that they were probably like, we just want to see what the reaction is. They're probably looking at some numbers, but
yeah,
I like where it ended up.
So next thing is the Corpse Burster set. This is the new Necromancer set, the one that when you can consume a corpse, it explodes. So they increased the base damage by 34% and now also applies Minor Breach whenever it hits someone. So it's a bit more damage. It's still just the mechanic of the set itself kind of turns me off big time. I cannot really think of a good way to use this set at all.
I want this set to be good because I would like to use this set. So I'm happy that it's getting buffed, but I don't know if it's enough to have anything really done with it yet.
Yeah, if they're not going to change the mechanic of it somehow, then it needs to deal like blast bones levels of damage.
Yes.
And that's not what this does not get it even anywhere close to that. But the thing is, like you got to think of you're spending a global cooldown to cast a thing to consume an ability. So you got to think, was it better for me to spend that global cooldown on that versus just casting a regular spammable? Like what was the benefit there? Especially, you're consuming a corpse that's on the ground. Is the person even standing there to even get hit with it?
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like you're spending a cost, the 1 second that it takes to cast that thing versus something else that you could have cast that would have been more effective. You're not getting any more damage necessarily than if you had just cast a regular spammable. I just don't get it.
The way that I look at it, you know me, I will try to shove this square peg in the round hole here.
Please do. I want to. There's surely something I'm missing here.
The way that I look at it is that it's you know, the proc on it is when you consume a corpse. And so if you could, like, let's say you're like a necro 50/50 build or a necro support build, and you're, you know, consuming consuming a corpse on their you know, their AoE ground heal. So like, you know, if you're throwing a heal down, it's buffing that heal, while at the same time, if a corpse blows up and does extra damage, like, that's kind of the way I look at it. If you can somehow, now this is the struggle part to it too, is if you could somehow find a way that you're just constantly littering corpses out, like if you can find a way to just constantly have a bunch of passive corpses out, but then you're using the abilities that when consume a corpse, you know, it procs a higher end, or, you know, the ability that I really like, I always forget the name of it, but the one that you consume it to generate ultimate.
Necrotic potency.
So those are good, yeah, necrotic potency. So those are good abilities that you're going to use anyways, but if there's an extra passive to when you're using them by blowing up and dealing like an AoE damage, like, that's how I feel like you'd have to utilize this set effectively.
Necrotic potency would be probably the best use case. And yeah, I mean, if you're using like all 3 minions, so you and plus your armor buff, you know, so you're littering corpses pretty well. And then I do have situations where necrotic potency, I'll spam it like maybe 3 times to get all the corpses that are there. But the problem is each one of those, it's a 0.5 second cooldown, so you only get 1 explosion at a time. It's not like they're all exploding. Yeah. You know what I mean? Only 1 each time.
And that's where you just circled, I think, the biggest issue with the set. Either take off the cooldown, or give this thing a blast bones, or, you know, even if it's not blast bones, but like give it something where it's actually enough damage where it's doing something.
Yeah, it needs to do quite a bit more damage, or remove the cooldown. I think one of those two.
Yes, up the damage or remove the cooldown, and then I think we'd really have something pretty special with this set. But hey, you know, they're they're at least buffing it, so, you know, the minor breach is nice. So it's like we're going in the right direction. Maybe we can continue to grow. Yeah,
I will say I haven't actually tried it either. So once it's in the game and I see it out in the wild, I may completely change my mind. Be like, whoa, that's awesome. Never mind. Because I got to be thinking there's got to be something I'm not seeing here, because it just does not seem super useful to me.
I just see it as it's kind of one of those proc sets that you throw on and then you don't think about. Like, go on and play your build and utilize corpses. You know, make a build that's consuming corpses effectively on its own, and then you just have this on there so that corpses are just constantly blowing up while you're playing the build how it is.
You know what? Maybe like a necro bomber. Maybe that. Like, that could be like a little bit of extra sauce and like a little AoE dump. Something like that. Because doesn't the graveyard have a synergy? Or not a synergy, but like a corpse consuming thing?
I feel like it does. That sounds right. That sounds very right.
I'm just hold on. Taking a little detour here.
We've never done
consumes
that.
A corpse. Yeah, consumes a corpse on cast to deal 30% more damage, plus the corpse would explode if you're wearing this set. So there it is. And then is this the, let's see, is it unnerving where you can do your own synergy?
Yeah, the morph of it.
No, it's avid, I guess. You can use your own synergy.
Yeah.
And that synergy pops up right away, so you can do it really quick. So, okay, we found it. This is the use case. I think this is what they had in mind. They want you to use it with the Avid Boneyard, which consumes a corpse on cast to deal 30% more damage. Plus, if you're wearing this set, that corpse is going to explode. Ideally, you'll have a Blast Bones lined up coming in at the same time. That's okay. That's it.
Yep.
That's what we're doing. And then the Etheric Lance set. That's the new Templar set. So the 5-piece reminder, it's the one where Dealing damage with burning light twice within 30 seconds. Summons a spear that implants itself in a 5-meter area for 5 seconds. And then while you're standing in that area, dealing damage with an Adric Spear ability launches that spear at your target, and it deals damage to them. So what they did is they reduced the randomness of where the spear lands when activating the set, as well as reducing how far it appears from you. It should now always land a step or two out of reach, just far enough to cause you to move, but not far enough that you have to chase the spear. So yeah, it's kind of like Essence Thief, but not as bad. It's kind of the comparison they made. Like they want you to have to move a little bit to get to the thing, which actually makes it a major turnoff to me, because I was thinking of this for a range plar.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was kind of intended this way, because I was the exact same. I was thinking range plar, like make this happen at a long distance range.
Yeah, I'd want it to just appear directly underneath my feet so I can just stay where I am. So I don't like that. I don't understand why I have to be chasing a thing, even if it's only a step or two away. Like, why? Why do I have to do that?
Yeah, I'm not sure I get that one.
We're 0 for 0 with the Templar sets, guys.
0 for 0.
0 for 0.
I will say that trying to really be glass half full here. The Templar sets are very tied into like Templar abilities and themes, like, glowing spears, glowing meteor, it's like they've got the bright, shiny lights part down. Now just make them usable.
Yeah, the Templar set themes are very strong compared to like the new Sork one. Just do more damage.
Here's more damage. Just take it. Take your tray and move on.
It supposedly has something to do with the summoning skill line, but
exactly.
Not really,
Exactly.
It's just if you don't have something summoned, here's more damage. So, yeah, I think that one needs to be rethought a little bit. I do like the idea of it. It really just needs to be, it just needs to appear directly under my feet, and I'm happy, I think. Let's talk a little bit about the latest ongoing. So we had a Whitestrake's Mayhem event. That was pretty fun. Did you get to participate much in it, or
not as much I would like? But which may be the answer for every Whitestrakes, but not near as much. I had some real life stuff that kept me busy for a good chunk of that weekend. But I definitely hopped in. I hopped into the sewers a little bit, ran around. BGs. I'm always doing BGs, but I don't know. There's just a little extra joy in the air during this event for PvP.
Oh, yeah.
There's just more people PvPing. I would say this event is really, they've done a good job with this event. Like it is getting more and more popular, it seems like, every time the event takes place.
Yeah, it's been really fun. We had a red night in Imperial City. This is really the only time I ever do Imperial City, is when these events are going on. But shout out to Maddie Quinn, Ironworks, Slavka, Ferrets, Ricky Base. We all just put together a red squad one night and just ran around, had a lot of fun, until we started running into just like the 100-person Zergs.
They eventually all morphed together to the giant one Zerg.
Yeah, it's just like a blob of players. There's just nothing you can do, no matter how well optimized or coordinated you are. But it's still fun to just kind of laugh at ourselves. We had a yellow night also. Again, Maddie, Sam, Ricky Base, Slavka, Silver. Shout out to those guys. I pretty much just have a Nightblade on yellow, so I was just kind of tagging along, pew-pewing, and it was fun. Honestly, my favorite thing to do during Whitestrake's Mayhem, it's funny because it's all I ever do, is just play Battlegrounds.
Just hop in the Battlegrounds. There's more people, it seems like, that are joining in. So
yeah, that's what I came to. Every time I jumped into Imperial City, it's always like, oh yeah, it's the event, it's time to jump into Imperial City, but I don't know. I get my fill within like an hour or so, and I just want to play BGs. And the BGs are more fun during the event because more people are queuing up. You get I don't know, the fights are just more varied. You get a lot of different kinds of fights because there's a lot of different kinds of players queuing up, and not just inexperienced people. This is also the time when like a lot of the real heavy hitters come back. People that don't really play all that often anymore, names you haven't seen in a while. You'll see them come back, and so you really get a really wide spectrum of experiences in there.
I feel like that my favorite part of the sewers is actually being down in the sewers. And during this event, everybody's up top. Like that's where you got to be. That's where all the fighting is, and everybody's up there. But I wish we could almost shove that population down in the sewers, because legit sweaty fights in the sewers are some of the best things ever. There's just, there's the enemy NPCs down there, like they add an extra like layer and level, and there's the banner bosses. Like if you're in a fight with somebody and somehow a banner boss gets pulled in, it's just pure chaos. It's just I love fighting down in the sewers. There's so many places to like loop around, go around a curve. Like line of sight's a big deal. I wish we could shove more fights down there.
And like that's, we've said it lots of times, that's actually the best PvP environment in the game. It's a shame it's completely dead down there.
Even during this event, like everybody's up top. There's more people down there, but it's not near as what it's like up on the top level.
Yeah, once upon a time, you could find some action down there just on a random weeknight. But man, it's a ghost town these days. But it's the best environment, man. You're right, when those banner bosses show up. And there's also another place where you're so rewarded for like knowing the environment.
Yes.
If you know those tunnels, it's so labyrinthine. If you just have that mapped in your mind, you can make some stuff happen. You can have like a 2v30, and pull some stuff off. Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And you can be, like going back to knowing the terrain, like if you don't know the terrain, you can run and all of a sudden you'll fall into like a patch of water, and then all of a sudden you're swimming while people are sitting there PvPing against you. Or, there's so many little curbs that'll catch your feet that you can get stuck. It's a good fighting environment.
Yeah, I really wish they'd do something to incentivize the sewers just a little more. Like make the rewards a little juicier, or make the Telvar, make you get more Telvar down there or something like that.
What I would like to see, I just thought of this, so but I just thought of this, so it's a really good idea. Here we go.
Okay, all right.
What I would like to see is the world bosses up top, right? You kill them, and now you get, monster sets, and you can get helmets and stuff off of those bosses. Make some of those down in the sewers. Make it where that's where you get those monster sets. You got to go fight them down there. Make an actual world boss. They have the banner bosses, and those are just good for Telvar, but like make some actual monster set bosses down in the sewers that roam around. That's where you have to go to get the monster set.
There may be. Isn't that one where you have to go real slow and it makes you super tanky? Isn't that an underground boss? There might be some.
They have underground bosses, but I don't think that they drop monster sets. Like each.
Oh, are they all above ground?
Yeah, all of the monster set ones are all like, the zone.
Oh, okay.
But I think if you just increase the rewards for those, make a specific monster set to each one of those existing bosses.
Yeah, especially if they're good, good monster sets that people want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. We said lots of times, but the Molag Ball fight, just make those rewards better. Those you get nothing for killing that guy.
But man, it's just such an opportunity. Such a fun fight too, especially if there's a whole bunch of PvP happening. Oh man, that fight can get wild. It can get wild.
The handful of times that we've had some good times down there, it's amazing. It's so amazing when you get some groups going around the Molag Ball fight down there, but there's just not enough incentive to pull people down there. You kill the guy and you get your 14 Telvar or whatever.
And your 6 gold.
Yeah. And there's a chance to get, something fairly valuable, but it's not even that valuable, even when you get the little
skin or
package thingies. There's a skin you can get a scamp pet. I think there's a couple of things you can get, but they're not even all that great.
And they're very, very rare drops. Like very rare.
Yeah. So they wouldn't even have to do much. Just like get some sort of armor set or monster set or something you can get from that guy that's decent. Like a Molag Ball monster set.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah.
And the cool part about that is if you did that, then there would be people that would just be constantly farming them. So when you went to the middle there'd always be fights.
Yeah, exactly. And they'd be pulling people down there. So I don't think you can drop straight to them,
No.
So you'd end up with people like in the sewers making their way there and stuff. And once they're there, hey, may as well check out some of these tunnels, what's going on in here. And it wouldn't take much to get people down there, I don't think.
Yeah.
We also revived Goon Wars just a couple of nights ago. We had our guild event where we just had 12 people sign up, and me and some friends, we just kind of decided who should go on whose team to make everything balanced, and I thought it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a very, very casual, like good group event. Everybody was having fun. Everybody was throwing GGs. Like people were making jokes. I thought all around it went really, really well. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good fights, a lot of good players in there.
Yeah, some great players. It's just the right kind of mix of like, we're getting sweaty, we're trying our best, but we're also just kind of chilling and hanging out with friends, And
yeah,
it's kind of like that halfway point between being like a seriously optimized pre-made, but not quite. It's kind of it's like between that and a solo match somewhere. As far as sweatiness goes.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was just gonna say. It's like for people in the guild, people in the Discord, join up on those. Even if like I think there's this like unspoken like I'm not good enough to hop in those. Hop in. Like everybody is welcome. Anybody can join in. Truly, as someone who is on the lower scale in there, it makes you so much better just learning from those matches. It's good practice. It's good. All you do a great job of putting the teams together. All the teams have experienced players to kind of help with location and strategies, and so like I encourage everybody to join there, whether you've done 2BGs or whether you don't do PvP all that often. Like it will absolutely make you better at PvP in this game by joining those events.
Oh yeah. We're on PCNA, scrollingpodcast@gmail.com to get an invite to the guild or the Discord. And yeah, you're totally right. Everybody is welcome. There's a wide range of skill levels involved, and we take great care to kind of make sure that the teams are well balanced and nobody's criticizing anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the whole idea is, we're trying to make pre-mades like a thing again, because pre-mades have kind of died off, and we've done a pretty good job. And lately on Friday nights, there's been some teams queuing up, some good sweaty squads, and we've had a good time with it. But it's still not quite as populated as we'd like it to be. And so the idea is for this Goon Wars to kind of be an entry point for people, that might be interested in kind of coordinated group play. This isn't quite as intense as the Friday night games, but it's a way to play with those people and kind of get an idea of what it takes to be successful in that kind of environment, but a lot lower stakes and not nearly as intense either, because you don't even know who your teammates are until like a day before the thing, and then everyone's just kind of scrambling to be like, okay, I guess you'll heal and I'll play a Templar. And, so it can only be so coordinated. And that helps it kind of be a bit more relaxed and casual, and everyone's having a good time. If you die 20 times, no one blinks an eye at that. So yeah, we had a great time with it. Everyone was, laughing and having a good time, and it was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I truly had a lot of fun in those matches, and it was only 4 matches, but like I do feel like every time I do those, I learn a little bit more, get a little bit better.
You were doing the new 50/50 one bar warden, right? The one bar icy claws.
Yep, 50/50, 50/50 one bar. It went pretty well, I would say. It did pretty well.
Yeah, man, I would say that was an excellent showing of that build.
Yep, it had good healing numbers, good damage numbers. I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, it was nice. That was like a good, solid test for that build. I knew, like in theory, we're like, oh, this is a great build.
This should
was
work.
yeah, probably on paper.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to do a thing. I think this will be fun. I thought we could do a quick rundown of our characters by class. And this will be kind of a rapid fire thing, but we'll just go down the roster class by class and just very quickly talk about the characters that we have for those classes. For some classes, we have multiple characters. We're only going to really talk about the ones that we feel really good about, though. So we may have 2 characters to talk about. We may not, depending on the class. So let's start off with Sorcerer, and I'll just start us off here. So I'll just talk about one. My Sorcerer's name is Intergalactic. I call him a hipster sork. And he's really just he's a roly-poly mag sork. And ever since the Stormweaver's Cavort Mythic came out, this immediately popped in my head to make this build, and it amazingly works even better than I thought it would. It's like so perfect. So the build is Shieldbreaker on the front bar with a lightning staff, Wretched on the back bar with a bow, 2 pieces Mighty Chudan, and that Stormweaver Mythic. So with Chudan, I replaced the armor buff with Shuffle. So I have the major evasion and the snare removal. I get my major expedition from the bow. And of course, with Stormweaver, making all my magicka or making all my roll dodges and sprinting and blocking and all that stuff cost magicka instead of stamina. And then I'm a Breton, so I have really, really good magicka sustain. And I'm a sorcerer, so I have dark conversion to convert all my excess stamina back into magicka. And there's no reason not to just dump it all. I don't need that stamina for anything. So it's actually the best roly poly I think you can possibly make using magicka instead of stamina as a Breton sorcerer with that Stormweaver mythic. And it's great because you get the best of both worlds. You're a Stam Sork on the back bar and you're a Mag Sork on the front bar, and it's such a perfect marriage. I love this build.
I'm still kind of shocked that this isn't more popular. Like that this more people aren't out there using this Stormweaver on Sorks. Like it just seems
I am
like
too, but it makes me happy because it's like mine, all mine.
It's all yours. You have you've got the whole pie to yourself. But I am kind of shocked that it's not more popular. It does seem just like the perfect marriage for a Sork. You get best of both worlds. It works so well with Dark Convergence, or not Dark Deal, but it's like this perfect little circle.
And it gives you the option to not use Hardened Ward. I mean, you can use Hardened Ward, but since you're so rolly and kitey, your defenses are pretty good. So I've been using the Vibrant Shroud Burst Heal instead and getting by just fine with that. So that's mine. What about yours? Your sorcerer.
So my Sork build, Thane of Pain, is just...
I could not remember his name. Okay, Thane of Pain. That's
Pain. Right. It's just it's been this kind of similar setup for a while. I've tinkered with it a little bit, but it's basically the 1-bar Sam Sork. So what the build is a Oaken Soul, 5-piece Kvatch Gladiator, 2-piece Engine Guardian, 3-piece Willpower with a bow for the weapon, and I mean, anytime I want to get some kills, I'm just going to hop on this build. Like I got to give you major kudos because I was struggling with it a little bit, and you were the one that like you need to throw a bow on there, and it was the perfect sweet sauce that the build needed. It's got the speed now, and it just throw the Sork combo on there, and then just watch people explode. It's got great mobility, just gets kills. Like it's the perfect kind of solo BG, hop in, blow up a bunch of people, feel good about it. Sam Sork, the Sam Sork build's still Sam Sorkin.
Yeah, you can make a great 1-bar Sork just because Overload on its own does so much damage.
That's the thing. The combo on it is very easy. You're throwing Mage's Wrath on everybody. Just throw it on everybody. Doesn't even matter. Just throw it out there. Just sprinkle that magical dust, on whoever you need to.
There's a title.
The Crystal Frags is what I use as the spammable, and when you get that Crystal Frags proc, you're just hitting a little bit harder, and then once you kick on Overload, that's when you're gonna start that's when the kills number starts you start hitting the clicker at that point.
Frags is the perfect spammable, or really either Morph. Crystal Weapon is also they're both good options.
Both very good. Both work very well, but it's and I still use the Bird Heal, still good, still very good heals, good team heals. But yeah, you can throw out heals when you need to, but other than that, you're just securing kills.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of value for like a 1-bar on a team. Like the bird heals, no one's going to complain about that. That's a ton of value, and you're securing kills, and you got the streak for crowd control, and it's really a ton of value for such a simple build.
Yeah, it's one of the 1-bar setups that it's like you've got a good compact package there.
Nice. Okay, well, let's move on to Dragon Knight. And you being a Dragon Knight main Star Jumper, I'll let you take this one first. Tell us about your Dragon Knight.
Oh, Lord of Nords himself. This is by far my favorite build. And still, I would say even now when I log on with him, I like him a little bit more each time I play with him.
I'm really loving your current setup with this guy, man. It's awesome.
It's a nice setup for sure. What the build is, it's the Oaken Soul Ring, 5-piece Burning Spell Weave, 2-piece Blood Spawn, the Black Rose Prison dual wield, and then 1-piece Trainee, 1 Druid. I really, really like this build. Its current setup is it's got great damage numbers. It's very tanky. It has a very good kind of just reset of itself. Like, you're just constantly rotating through the rotation with your leap. It kind of gives you the damage shield, gives you the sustain back, your resources back, and you're just kind of constantly rotating through that. You're taking hits for your team. It's a very true DK build, I feel like, and it's been so much fun lately.
You've been zeroing in on this build for a while too. I feel like Dragon Knight's maybe one of the hardest classes to do a 1-bar setup for.
It's tricky. As a 1-bar player, for a Dragon Knight to be my main, like, I made poor choices. I will openly admit that I've made poor choices. Yeah. But gosh, that square peg and that round hole.
I think one of the real keys that made it come together was figuring out that Flames of Oblivion makes a really great spammable for your kind of play style and your setup.
Yes, 100%.
I think that's like a big one.
That is absolutely what the Flames of Oblivion with the, throwing the time old, just still great Burning Spell Weave is really what it took it to the next level, because there's just so much damage and pressure being thrown out, and I really don't have to focus on it. Like Flames of Oblivion, I'm just kind of throwing out, like, I'll focus somebody, but I'm still throwing out pressure to everyone while I'm focusing that person. So there's still just so much damage being thrown out there. And I can still pick, my targets and who I'm going to try to work and try to take out, with the whip, and the leap is hitting everybody, but I can still kind of focus.
How you don't even need a target with Flames of Oblivion. Yeah. You just kind of close your eyes and spam it, and it'll be hitting people.
Exactly. Like I'm focusing on my targets, but Flames of Oblivion's still hitting everybody. It's nice for its range. Like, this build has always had a lot of struggle with, if there's any sort of range, like, it had to be up in your face. Any sort of range it struggled with, and it's not an insane range, but it's at least gives me something to do. Like, I don't have to be right up in the middle of it. If there's those kind of standoff or defensive, holds where nobody's jumping in, like, I'm not just standing there taking hits anymore. Like, I can actually kind of do a little bit. So it really is. Yeah. This build has really kind of turned a corner where it is. Its numbers have really started to be very, very competitive, I would say.
Nice. So my Dragon Knight's name is Flossie. I have actually 2 other Dragon Knights, but this is the only one that I feel like really, really good about. And I had a lot of help actually theory crafting this. I can't really even call this my build, but it's just so perfect. So I've just been keeping it. So it's Dragon's Appetite as a double bar set, 2 pieces Bloodspawn, the Maelstrom 2-hander on the back bar, Master Jewel Wield on the front bar, and the Malakath ring. And it's basically just a dot build. I just dot people up and watch them melt is more or less how it goes. And I think the key sort of thing is anytime I have a decision to make on a morph that, and there's one morph that gives me damage, and there's another morph that gives me healing and damage, I always take the healing and damage morph. So that means Blood Craze for dual wield. I'm using Burning Embers, which heals me as it does damage. Shattering Rocks instead of Fossilize, that heals me when people break out of that. Of course, I have the Dragon's Appetite set. When I get full stacks of that, that's a really nice heal. You got your Leap giving you a good reset. Of course, you're going to be getting your Potion, plus your actual healing abilities. So there's just a ton of built-in healing, and it's nice because so much of it is attached to your offense, so you can just stay aggressive, keep fighting. Kind of like you were talking about with Lord of Nords, Davius, where it's a classic DK, be aggressive, just be headstrong, and just trust that it's going to work out. And this is one of those builds that it probably will. Like, somehow, you've seen those DKs that, like, oh, they're toast. Here they go. They're about to die. And then miraculously they don't. And just time and time again, it's like every 3 seconds you think they're about to die and somehow they don't. It's all these little pieces coming together, one thing after another, just sort of picking you back up out of that execute range. And yeah, it's great. Super fun. You just put on the Pantera and just, go nuts. Really, it's one of those kind of builds.
Yeah. Yeah, I love DK.
All right, let's move on to Nightblade. I'll start off with Nightblade. I have Catface Johnson. He's my Khajiit Nightblade, and I've been spreading the gospel of this Soul Cleaver set for a long time. Not everyone's a believer, but I'm telling you, such a good set. So it's Soul Cleaver as a double bar set. Oakfather's Retribution on the front bar with a lightning staff. Master Bow on the back bar, Gaze of Sithis, Mythic Helm, one piece Magma. Yeah, that Oakfather set slaps. I've heard a few people actually tell me that it's bugged and it's basically dealing like twice as much damage as it's supposed to. So I'm not getting too used to
Yeah.
it. I did notice when I put it, because I was using War Maiden, and then I was like, let's just try this out, and the damage seems very, very, very good. So I'm trying not to get too used to
Might
it.
be a
Maybe
little
even
too
thinking
saucy. A little too saucy.
yeah,
out there.
a little too saucy. But that Soul Cleaver set, man, if you build around it and take advantage of it, I've said it 100 times. It's one of the best sets in the game. You get so much value out of it. It increases the potency of your siphoning abilities by 18%, reduces their cost by 18%. So, using Swallow Soul as your spammable, using Offering as your heal, Soul Tether for the ultimate, and siphoning attacks, which is already OP on its own. Having an 18% lower cost, healing you for 18% more. I don't even use power extraction, but that's an amazing siphoning ability that a lot of Nightblades do use. That gets affected as well. So if you build around it, it's so good. And I've talked to other Nightblade mains about this set, and not everyone's sold on it. But the thing that I think that I really like about Soul Cleaver, as far as how it makes it feel to play, is I feel like I'm pretty hardy, like I don't have to be elusive. I can really be up in the melee. I can be up in people's faces. I can body block for my teammates. I can heal for them. I really don't feel squishy at all. Plus, I have extremely good sustain, I have cloak, slotted. I have 3 swift, so I can be elusive and kitey and all that stuff, but I don't have to be. It's my choice, how I want to play, and a lot of that is because Soul Cleaver gives me that flexibility. It's such a good set. Highly recommended, especially if you were a fan of the old Kenna mag blades back in the day, the Blood Mage using Swallow Soul and all that. That was the way you played mag blades, years and years and years ago, and it's died off since then. But this set brings it back, and it's honestly better than ever. So that's Catface.
Catface Johnson. My Nightblade, Gift of the Rift.
That's right.
The very much a brawler blade setup here. What the build is a Oaken Soul, 5-piece Ravager, 2-piece Celestrix, 3-piece Agility with 1 trainee. This is it's a very good build, I would say. Like, I've played it, I hop in, it works out really well. I think and this is not a knock to this specific setup, because that Ravager works really well. I've got Caltrops on there. You're just throwing Caltrops out there. Your weapon damage is stacking up, and then you're just hitting them with the typical Nightblade combo. And it deals damage, and it can be a little bit on the brawly side too. It's got good team heals. Like, it works out well. I think my biggest struggle with it though is that if I have a brawly build here, and I've got Lord of Nords as another brawly build, like, I'm picking Lord of Nords every time. And so that's really my goal, is to switch this build around to more of a Nightblade style, which it's I think I've talked to you about this a little bit, but I'm gonna farm up that Soul Cleaver set and kind of go more of a Soul Cleaver Nightblade style to just give it that different, just a different play style. And so I think that's probably going to be the future of this build.
Yeah, I always try to play the class as the class. Yeah, that's always good. Nice. Gift of the Rift. So, okay, so changes to come for Gift of the Rift.
Changes to come.
All right, let's move on to Templar. Why don't you start us off with Templar, Davis? What do you got?
So I've got the Need for Mead. I have 2 Templar, but I'm gonna stick with one. I'm gonna stick with the Need for Mead. This is kind of the old Betsy 1 bar, if you will. Approved by you, I will say. Like, you're aware of the build. It got the stamp of approval. It's authentic.
Yes, it's all on the up and up. Hold on, sorry, really quick. Welcome, Pelinal. Didn't see you come in, man.
Oh,
Thanks
yeah.
for joining
us. What the build is Oaken Soul, 5-piece Deadly Strikes, 2-piece Bloodspawn, Black Rose Prison, dual wield, 1 trainee, 1 druid, and it just a speedy, good all around, good AoE if need be, good team heals. That good Templar can kind of do a little bit of everything. Can be team heals, can be kind of AoE damage. It's got the beam if I need to do kill secure. Just kind of adaptability, like shift to what the team needs, and it does. It gets good numbers for sure.
Yeah, so you call that like old Betsy light, basically. I have 2 Templars also that actually I feel very good about both of them, but I'll just talk about old Betsy. So she's my main, of course, and I have a few different setups, but the classic setup I guess I'll talk about is Deadly on the as a double bar set, Wretched Vitality back bar with a bow, Black Rose dual wield on the front bar, Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm, one piece magma. And yeah, like just like you were talking about, the whole goal with Betsy and her playstyle is just to be absolutely as flexible as possible. I enter into a fight with no specific goal in mind other than just whatever I need to do for the team, you know. And I mean, it's an offensively focused build, so generally the goal is to get kills.
Yeah.
But even so, I'm actually prioritizing support, and most of the time I will get more kills if I'm focusing on helping my team primarily, and then I'll just snatch up kills kind of opportunistically here and there. And if I'm on a team that has strong heals and good support, and I don't really need to do that, then fine, I'll go ham and just get, you know, a zillion kills and it'll be great. But having that flexibility is what's nice, you know. I think that's such a strength that Templar has, that they, especially if you're playing a lot of solo, you know, they have that ability to sort of drag their teammates along with them. You know, if you don't have such a great team, you can make them a better team, you know, whereas like a Dragon Knight can't. A Dragon Knight just has to do what they can do, and hopefully the team can support them. And if they can't, you're probably going to be struggling, you know, because you can't really lift them up the way a Templar or like a Warden can.
Yeah.
But like in the case of the Warden's mostly support, you know. I mean, they can provide offense, but they're not securing kills, you know. They're not really offensively threatening most of the time. The Templar actually is like super effective in all sectors, you know, so you really do have that flexibility. So, and the bar setup, I don't even think I need to bother mentioning the skills, because it's just the very standard, you know, Templar setup, just the basic toolkit that basically every Templar, melee, jab spamming Templar uses. So that's old Betsy.
The classic old Betsy. You got her.
Yep.
You really summed that up nicely. That's very well done. Good old Betsy.
Well, thanks. All right, we'll move on to Warden. This is basically a eulogy for my Warden build, Hambone Malone, because it's getting killed next patch. It's such a good build. They're changing that piercing cold passive, so you don't get 12% extra damage for wielding a frost staff anymore, which is great. That's a great change.
Mm-hmm.
But it's killing my build here, which is very sad because I love this build. But it's Winterborn as a double bar set, Wretched Vitality on the back bar with a bow, the Master's Frost Staff on the front bar, Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm, one piece magma, and the whole thing is using that Master's Frost Staff with Frost Clench, the morph that roots people, and then I also have Crystallized Slab slotted, so whenever I take a projectile, it shoots that ice ball back at them and it stuns them. So between that stun and the root from Frost Clench, you're basically just making life miserable for every Sork or any ranged attacker that you come across, which is these days in Battlegrounds, it's most people are ranged. So this is the build that if I'm just kind of having a bad day, I don't really want to try too hard, I can really just kind of waltz into the middle of a giant fight and really not worry about a thing. Just what's up, fellas? And the damage is very good. The crowd control is good. The survivability is, you know, effortless. Plus, I have a lot of, you know, any Warden is an asset to their team. I'm helping them out with all the heals, all the AoE pressure. It's a super fun build to play. I'm sad that it's getting changed. I'm actually considering just keeping the build and just taking the 12% damage reduction. Yeah. You know, just eating that, because it's aside from that, it's still super effective in a lot of other ways anyway. So that's Hambone. I know the Warden you want to talk about. What do you got for us, Star Jumper?
Well, I'll just quickly say, like, I'm in the same boat. I'm going to talk about one Warden, but the other one I'm not going to talk about. I'll just briefly say similar boat to that with that passive change. It's a Ice Staff Warden, and I'm with you. It's a great change. I'm happy that it's changing, but it is killing a build that I really like. You know, we were just talking about the natural Nord, old Natty Nord is that build that. I don't know. It'll be on the shelf for a while after that change, because I don't think it's going to work, but it's working well right now. We just did the Goon Wars and it did well, but it's going to be on the shelf. I'll have to look at it. But the Warden I do want to talk about is old Bearclaw the Nord, the bow brawler, point blank snipe build. What this build is the Oakensoul Ring, 5-piece Red Mountain, 2-piece Baylorg, the Vatashran bow key, that's the circle piece of the build, and then I actually run 2 trainee on this build for a little bit extra magicka. And this is just, you know, of all the, there's 2 builds I have. I haven't talked about the other one just yet, but there's 2 builds I have that are just probably get the wackiest, and I have a deep love for them just because they're wacky. They're just wacky enough to where they work. And this is definitely one of those builds of just get as close as possible and snipe them at that point blank range. It's got good damage, good like of all the 1-bar kits that I have, this build has the best, just complete 1-bar package of it. Just has everything it needs. It's got great heals, great defense, good team heals, good burst, a high damage spammable, an ult it can finish off as an execute. It just works together. It's a great circle, and I've made some recent changes to it that I feel like have only made it better. The damage is better, the kills are better, the defense is better. So this build is it's probably the best it's ever been. It's really, really nice.
Yeah, I think Bear Claw has always been my favorite character of yours. Just like you said, it is such a complete package. Like it's like the toolkit is all there. You're really not lacking anything in that build. It's perfect.
Just put it on the Goon form. It's the newest build I threw on there. Found just the most perfect picture I could find to represent the build. Really fun picture for it. So check that out.
I like in that forum post you were describing the combo. Step 1, get close.
Get close to them. All caps. Get as close as you can to them. That is key. Now, most of the time, they're gonna take care of that part for you because they see you sniping. They're coming in. They're falling for it. They're already you have them in the palm of your hand at that point.
Yeah, they see that snipe. They think they got a squishy, easy kill in their hands, and they couldn't be further from the truth with a tanky Nord Warden.
Yep, a tanky Nord Warden with the crystallized slab. You've got Polar Wind, Vigor. It's fantastic.
Beautiful. All right, well, let's move on to Necromancer. Why don't you start off with Necromancer? You want to talk about, I'm guessing, Never-Ending
Nord. You are correct. Okay. So this is the other. I was just talking about my two wackiest builds that are just wacky enough to work. That there's a tie for which one I don't know which one I would say is wackier, but I do love them both just because it's like they shouldn't work, but they find a way to do it.
This is definitely one that seems like it should not, and it amazingly does work.
Absolutely really well. Shouldn't. Never-Ending Nord. This is the Health Crow build. I may need to add this one to the forum too, just to officially put it on there.
I think you should.
This is the Health Crow build. Just stack as much health as possible. Let all these health procs go off, and it's actually technically a 50-50 build because all the damage you're doing with this, you're not even really paying attention. That's just kind of all happen on its own. But what the build is it's Oaken Soul Ring, 5-piece Crimson Twilight, 2-piece Lady Thorn, an Endurance Ice Staff, 1-piece Trainee, 1-piece Druid. And so it is just all the health. Once you get the Goliath, that's really what your goal is. Get the Ravenous Goliath. Gets you up to 90k health. And all the build has health procs. And it's at 90k health, the numbers on all of them are just ridiculous. Crimson Twilight gets ridiculous. Lady Thorn gets ridiculous. The Hungry Scythe gets ridiculous. Everything.
I'm always surprised at your damage numbers at the end of a match. It's always like, what are you doing to do all that damage?
Where did all that come from?
It's like, I don't know. I just got a bunch of health and I'm hitting this synergy thingy, and
I'm just happening. Just healing my teammates, and when people get close by, that's the thing. You got to hit that Lady Thorn synergy whenever it pops up. But other than that, you're really just throwing out heals to the team. Popping in Goliath when you can, and when you get into Goliath, you really just run in the middle. Hit the Lady Thorn synergy, and you're just kind of hugging people. Just go around and hug people. Let them. The
Goliath does a ton of health does a ton of damage when you have that much health. I mean, it's outrageous.
Yes, it's a pretty insane tooltip. It's
basically like a Destro ult, I think.
Yeah,
like it's about on par with a Destro ult.
I think the tooltip's it's like 6k per second for 20 seconds. So you're just kind of running around, just hitting people.
Plus, you have all that increased health and everything.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's tough for people to take you down. It can hold its own if it gets in bad situations. It finds ways.
Awesome. Cool. So, all right, I'll talk about my Necromancer. I have 2 Necromancers, but actually Despair has been in the workshop for a while. I'm not sure what's going on with Despair. Maybe this next patch. Actually, I do have some ideas, but the build actually I'm feeling pretty good about these days is Bobby Bobango, and he's my ranged Stam Crow. So he uses Venomous Smite on the front bar with a Flame Staff, Wretched Vitality on the back bar with a bow, 2 pieces Mighty Chudan, and Ring of the Wild Hunt.
Ooh,
Throwback to
the Wild Hunt days.
Yeah, to the old Wild Hunt days. I want to shout out Venomous Smite. I feel like that's a set that I don't see nearly often enough, but it does a ton of damage. I mean, it's a very, very strong set, and it's AoE. I feel like people should be using that set more. I've really been enjoying it. So yeah, this is another one that I'm using. Mighty Chudan on a Necromancer. It's easy to do. Their armor buff is nothing special. So I get rid of that. I replace it with Shuffle yet again. So I have that on the back bar with the bow. Using Shuffle with a bow is so nice because you get that. Of course, the Major Evasion is nice, but you get the snare removal. You can just do a dodge cancel, so you get the Major Expedition from a bow plus the snare removal from Shuffle. So it's kind of like in one action you have like complete uninhibited movement, plus the Ring of the Wild Hunt, giving us all this movement speed. The reason I wanted to do Wild Hunt, for one, I wanted to use Mighty Chudan, so that means no Sithis. But also, Necromancers, I feel like they suffer from a similar issue as DKs, is like their survivability can sometimes be difficult. They have a hard time dealing with dots and just like a lot of ranged attackers and stuff like that. So I feel like I need movement speed. I was using 3 Swift, but swapping to Wild Hunt lets me switch to 3 Bloodthirsty, a lot more damage that way. Plus I still have the movement speed that I need to stay alive and all that. And it's just a really fun way to play, having all that movement speed and your long range. You know, I'm using the Poison Skull for the spammable, and of course Blast Bones, and just some range dots. I use Wield Soul that applies Major Breach, and it's also a range stun, so it fits really, really nicely with your Blast Bones combo. It's just a really fun build. Next patch, of course, I'll be using the Skeletal Archer to get my major damage buff.
Very cool.
And that'll be nice. Have another minion in the mix, and it'll just look cool. The Skeletal Archer looks really cool.
The fact that we're going to see more of those, I'm really excited about it.
I'm super pumped about that, and I'll just treat that like my opener. I'll probably have the Skeletal Archer on my back bar, because right now I open with Venom Arrow, and that's how I get my major damage buff. So I'll just replace that with the Skeletal Archer. I'll open with that, gives me a major damage buff, and he's freshly summoned for the battle. And then I go in with everything else.
Surely the timers match up on this, but I'm guessing as long as the Archer's out there, you have the buff. Like the timer on those are the same. Does that make sense?
I think it's while it's active. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's while it's active. Yeah.
That's very cool.
So that's Bobby Bobango, my Necromancer. And let's move on to Arcanist. So my Arcanist name is Randolph. And the main setup I've been using with him is Azure Blight as a double bar set, Tarnished Nightmare on the front bar, a Defending Potentate's Bow on the back bar, and then the Sithis Helm and One Piece Magma. And this is really my go-to pre-made build. If someone says, Ket, I need you to bring all the damage you have, this is the guy I get. Azure Blight with that beam is just such a perfect thing.
Terrifying.
And it's actually...
It's just terrifying.
It's terrifying, yeah. And it actually makes Azure Blight work really well in the solo queue. Typically, Azure Blight's super hard to use in the solo queue, but if you're an Arcanist with the beam, you actually can get very, very good usefulness out of it. So, I use the same setup, whether it's solos or pre-mades. I just changed a few morphs of some abilities, depending. But it's super duper good. What you want to do is use the flail, the tentacle, to build up your crux. Of course, you put dots on people. You use the flail to build up your crux. I use the Rune of Displacement to pull a crowd all together, and then just blast them with the beam, and the Azure Blight starts popping off, the Tarnished Nightmare starts popping off, plus the beam itself does an absolute ton of damage, and you will get some group wipes. I mean, very consistently with this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. I've been teammates with this build, and I've been against this build. I prefer teammates.
Yeah.
Very much prefer teammates.
And it's nice because Arcanists have such good sustain passive. So this is one of the few builds that I don't feel like I need Wretched at all. Like sustain's easy breezy no matter what. I'm just using 2 damage sets, and Arcanists are super tanky just all on their own. So I don't need a defensive set. I don't need a sustain set. I just equip 2 damage sets and let's go, and I'm all good.
Watch people melt.
Yeah, Arcanist is such a good class. I've really come around on Arcanist in the last few months. I really like the class a lot.
And my Arcanist, my Arcanist build is it will one day I will make one.
Okay, all right.
No, I actually am very close on this. I've talked about it, zeroing in some names. It's time. Like I need to make one of this. It's a class that makes so much sense for a 1-bar build. Like they are a very good class for a 1-bar build. So it's going to be soon.
The build I just talked about can easily be adapted to 1-bar, like no problem.
Yes. Yeah. And a very effective like group group battlegrounds 1-bar build, I
Yeah.
would say.
And really, what you'll like the best about it is it's such a universal class. Like, you can take a build into PvP and then queue up for a dungeon and do that
Run the
with
same
the same
build.
build. Yeah, like,
exactly.
Don't even change anything.
Just get a free PvE build right out of it.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I use for PvE. I use Order's Wrath and Deadly Strikes and Oaken Soul are my PvE Arcanist. So I mean, I have this Azure Blight setup that I use for PvP, but I very well could just use that PvE setup, no problem, and they would work very well.
Yeah,
easily. Okay, so someday we'll have an Arcanist.
Yes, it's going to happen. It'll be sooner rather than later. This one is actually going to jump ahead of my poor Mag DK build. He'll get pushed. He'll get pushed back in the line again. One day for him.
Guy.
One day for him.
Someday, buddy, hang in there. He's got to compete with Lord of Nords.
That's true. I mean, he already has a tough. He's just got a tough task.
scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. That is our email address. If you'd like to send us an email, well, we'd like that too. What kinds of things should they email us about, Davius? What do you think?
Just all things. Their love of Nords. What they love most about Nords. What's their favorite Nord zone? What's their
favorite aspects of East March?
Yeah, what part of East March did they hang out in? I mean, just all sorts of things. Just could be anything.
Questions, suggestions for the show. Shout out to a friend. Anything you want.
Yeah.
scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. First email today comes from John E. Danger. And this is regarding Nord names, he says. So, building upon the notorious Nord, the notorious N-O-R-D, like the notorious B-I-G, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he even comes with a tagline. He likes it when you call him Big Afa. A-F-A, which is Norse word for grandfather. That is it. There are no other options. John E. Danger. I kind of agree. Notorious N-O-R-D. That's great.
John is making a lot of sense. And he's making a lot of sense. Anyone who makes a lot of sense always has me a little worried that it's just too much sense. I like to have much less sense. That's my comfort zone.
Okay. I see.
That's a lot of sense. That's a lot of sense. No, that is fantastic. The tagline, little Norse word, and that's pretty amazing. That is definitely, that's going to be up in the top 3 choices for sure.
I mean, at least write it down.
Oh, right? It's on the list already. It's on the list for sure.
That's got to be the one. I'll be very disappointed if it's something else. I'm just saying right now.
You'll be saddened.
All right. Thanks for writing in, John E. Danger. Good to hear from you, man. A Booner Goon. A Stoon's Boon recipient.
Mm-hmm. Booner Goon. That's a good one.
All right. Next up, it's time for the weekly Chumpy email. What's up, Chumpy? He says, hey, guys. He said, had some FOMO recently. Love the pod, really enjoy the laughs, but I need to know, what should I do? Actually play ESO? It seems so weird because I'm solely a podcast fan now. Will my listening experience be better after picking the game up? Also, I'd like to shout out that guy who talked about picking up ESO in the last pod. He had a cool name, and he's a dad, and he inspired me to think about playing again. I think the person he's talking about is Demon of Saints. Shout out. TTFN Chumpy. So, do we think if Chumpy were to actually start playing ESO again, would he enjoy the podcast more or less?
I just say, Chumpy, be Chumpy. You do you. You're good no matter what. Now, you are welcome to ESO anytime. We got a spot waiting for you. But you do you. Chumpy's good in my book. He can do whatever he wants to do.
I feel like it would only have to enhance your listening experience, surely. Like, if you're jumping into BGs day after day and you're like seeing these things that we're talking about, and as you're playing, you might be thinking like, I wonder what's up with this thing that I've been seeing, or why did I die here, or whatever. And then you might get an answer to that on the podcast or whatever. I think it would only enhance your listening experience, Jumpy. Plus, it'd be cool to have you around in Discord.
Oh, heck yeah.
You seem like a fun guy to hang out with.
Love the positivity.
Yeah. Thanks for writing in, man. As always, next email comes from Brian. Brian says, "Hey guys, I'm back again with another class question. My question is this. If you were given the task of creating a new class, what would it be? What would you call it? What theme would it have? I have an idea or two, but if I were to share them here, it'd be a really long email. But I'm more curious about your ideas. What do you think, Starjumper? Got any ideas?
Oh, I do. So there's a couple ideas out there. There's some popular ones. I think there's people have talked about it on the forums. I think the first thing that you have to address is that it's a little tough in ESO. It's not as simple as just throwing in a class, because I will say ESO has seemingly on purpose kind of tried to cover all the usual tropes of a class. Like their existing classes kind of cover multiple classes from other games. They kind of try to fit multiple packages into one class. So I think in sticking with that theme, whatever new class they would add to the game would almost have to kind of fit multiple things to it. You can't just think, okay, this type of class, this type of fantasy character, like
a DK is like a pyromancer, but also like a earthbender.
Yes, exactly. They've got that multiple, and so the idea that I would say is the now it sticks with my theme a little bit, but I would say some sort of berserker barbarian style class. Like I think you could cover kind of multiple areas. So, it could be this really like crazy, warrior, just out there, Conan style, but you could also make it more of this, really tanky armored styled, like just, physical upfront warrior. I think you could cover kind of multiple tropes with that. And so, just thinking through like what the different skill lines could be, like I think you would have some sort of like combat focused where it just enhances their combat style, some sort of combat. I don't know names here, but some sort of tree that's just focused around this is a combat style class. What abilities can just be very combat focused. I think one could be some sort of like war cry focus, and that's like you could have like team synergy, potential buffs, that kind of thing, war cry style. And then I think you've got to have some sort of like rage style where it's like they hurt themselves to make them do more damage in some sort of tree. I think that's something along those lines. I would love to see that kind of class, because I think the closest like true warrior style class we have is probably a DK. But I'm with you. I look more of a DK as kind of the pyro, the earthbender. Like they fit the bill kind of as the warrior style class. But I think that we still have an opportunity to potentially circle that. Now, a little tricky because I know we have, there's weapon skill lines. So I think you'd have to tie it in a way that, the combat mastery would have to be something that doesn't focus on a specific weapon, but somehow enhances, some overall combat with all different weapons and things like that. The other note I have is I know that monk, like a monk class is a popular one, but we've talked about this before. I almost think that would be better as like a unique skill line, kind of like Sigic Order. I think that one makes a lot of sense for like a single skill line. I don't know if you could get 3 skill,
like an unarmed skill line.
Yeah, I don't know if you could get 3 skill trees out of the monk class and still have enough going on there. I could be wrong. I mean, surely people have ideas, but
okay, it's very interesting because I had a very similar thought to you as like, okay, with existing classes, you kind of can go 2 different paths depending on like your morph choices.
Mm-hmm.
You're either like in the case of Dragon Knight, you're either a fire guy or you're like a earth and poison guy, And so, I was thinking as basically exactly the same as you, but it would actually be monk and warrior would be kind of the 2.
So you tie the monk into that. Okay.
Yeah, so like your magicka choices, like your magicka morph choices would be kind of monk leaning, more supportive kind of stuff, and your stamina morph choices would be more warrior focused, more kind of aggressive kind of stuff. And of course, everything's hybrid, so you'd have it all mixed up in your build, of course. But both those kind of make sense to me because in my mind they kind of focus on unarmed combat and kind of vocal expressions to buff themselves and things like that. Yep. So seems like that would be a nice little combo of a class right there to me.
Yeah, I could see that being cool.
But I also do agree that monk on its own isn't enough of a class, and that would actually could also make a very good just skill line, like an unarmed skill line that anybody could use. That you could have a bunch of passive and active skill abilities that are only active if you don't have any weapons equipped.
Yeah, would be very cool.
Other idea I had was you could make like a tinkerer. I think you've voiced that idea before about having like a tinkerer class that has like a bunch of little dwarven constructs and stuff like that.
Very dwemer focused.
Yeah. And I kind of meant this as a joke, but necromancer.
A real necromancer class.
The effort that they would put into making a new class, just put that effort into the necromancer. Just reinvent the class entirely, honestly, is what needs to happen.
Give us some... It's crazy to me that Warden... I mean, I've said this before. Warden has permanent pets. Sork has permanent pets. But the one class that is the most like pet... just the easiest choice to have minions does not have a permanent pet. Like give them where they can let them summon an undead. I realize it can't be crazy, but let them summon some undead minions out there. Give them some pet options.
Yeah, I wish the skeletal arcanist / archer was just a permanent summon. Just a little buddy that was always following you around. Just always there. And make him untargetable, and he's just permanent.
It should be, if you have it slotted, you get the weapon buff, the weapon and spell damage buff, and then when you summon him, he's just out there. Like, if he's on your bar, he's out there. Yeah. And I've said this before, like, how in the world does the Warden have a permanent ult that is a pet that stays out completely, but the Necromancer doesn't have that? Like, give them some sort of, there's so many cool NPC necromancers and undead people in this game. Like, you've already even got the artwork and you've already designed the abilities. Just give it to the class, just make it happen. But I do agree with you on that. Like, just a kind of a get necromancer right is what I would say.
Brian closes by saying, take care and keep scrolling. We will.
Heck yeah.
All right. And our last email comes from Bulby37. He says, suggestions for the Arcanist name. So, yeah, that was a big hit.
Yeah.
Davis, the Arcanist name
I'm loving these Arcanist name ideas. This is awesome. I love this. This is awesome.
Here's some more Arcanist name ideas. So, Nord O Mystery.
Nice. Very good.
Nord of Enigma.
I like that one.
We have the non-Euclidean Nord. That's pretty funny.
That's good.
The Noctilucent Nord. Noctilucent meaning night shining, as in glowing wispy clouds in the short summer nights.
This is like expanding my vocabulary with some of these names here. Like,
yeah, it's such a beautiful description of the word.
Yeah, that just rolls off the tongue.
Okay, send your children to bed. Boldy says, also, gooning is being recycled in Gen Alpha, aka brain rot slang, to have a meaning that veers wildly away from the usage in polite podcasts such as this one. The Gooners, he's talking about an email from the last episode. The Gooners from Zone Chat may have been referencing that form of the word rather than being a reference to the venerable Stoon's Goons. A question to go along with the Gen Alpha slang theme. Do you consider any of your characters to be Rizzlers? It's spelled Rizzlers. So Rizzlers. I don't know if that's Rizzlers or Ritzlers.
Rizzlers. We know this. We know slang. We know this.
Rizzlers, as in having high charisma in attracting their most desired mates.
I mean, we totally knew the slang, but thank you very much for including the definition. That's extremely helpful.
Okay, yeah, I guess I am officially at that age. Like, that's definitely like out of left field right there. Never heard that one before, ever. Yeah. So, okay, but high charisma in attracting their most desired mates. I mean, you got Gift of the Rift. I mean, surely.
Oh yeah, he's Gift of the Rift is for sure on my list. That guy rocks. He's got a powerful, Fu Manchu style beard.
Yeah. He's got the bravado,
Mm-hmm. He's got the personality. He's got a stance about him. He's definitely on my list for sure.
Okay.
Who you got? Let's go back and forth on this. Who you got on your list? Let's see.
Okay.
Now, well, you go ahead, but I know of one that better be on your list. Gosh dang it! And he better be number one. But I'm gonna let you say it.
Well, okay. Well, I don't know. I think probably who you're thinking of is probably number 2 on my list.
Okay. Who you got number 1?
Number 1, Catface Johnson.
Well, okay. What a suave man, old Catface Johnson.
Catface, and it's effortless. He's very suave. I think of him as being like a Prince type, like the artist formerly known as Prince. That like he's got that sort of personality type.
Oh, he's got some money. He's got some financial support.
He's got a little buddy. He's a little bit out there with his style and whatever else. And
brave style choices. Absolutely, that's a good one.
He's because you eat Nightblade, and he uses the brassy assassin personality, which fits him really well. Actually,
fits perfectly.
He's got like the shoulder piece that just looks like fur around your neck, and yeah, he looks good. He's got a good look. All right, who's your next one?
So I've got to throw him on here just because I love his look. But Lord of Nords, like, don't sit this guy out. Now he's very specific because he probably is somebody who screams and yells a lot. We've said think WWF, WWE professional wrestler style.
I can't even think of Lord of Nords as a sexual being. He's just like,
he's more of
have
like
those kinds of desires at all.
Yeah, he's focused on other things, but he's probably got some groupies. He's got some groupies that probably follow him around for sure.
Sure. Okay. All right. Okay. Next on my list, probably the one you were thinking of, Butch Mahoney.
Butch Mahoney. This guy gets the ladies. All right. If you guys could see a picture of this guy. He goes out on the lake, hops on his jet ski or Sea-Doo, and he's just cruising around the lake. And people take notice of this guy. All right, he's got a nice chest attachment to his Sea-Doo. He's got a Bud Heavy in his hands. This guy, people take notice. All right, they're aware if he's at the beach that day.
He's an orc. I made the sliders as short as possible and as wide as possible. And he's got a very kind of revealing outfit. It's not the Nordbather style. It's actually a real outfit, but he's like shirtless, and he's got the cheerful personality. He's got the sunglasses, and
he's proud of what he got. He knows what he's got to offer.
He knows what he's got.
He knows what he's got to offer. Oh man,
he's just throwing it out there, baby.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think a lot of what sells it is in the face, because he's got that kind of like werewolf looking hairstyle with the Fu Manchu mustache and the sunglasses, and then that with he's an orc, and then the cheerful personality. It all just ties together so well. And he uses those, I think it's called the Stags of Zen leg pieces. I think it's either the light or medium leg pieces. It just looks like shorts. He just looks like he's wearing shorts and flip flops.
Oh yeah, shorts and flip flops. He's there.
Yeah, it's great. All right, who do you got next? That's all I have really.
The last one I have to throw on my list is just old Natty Nord himself. This guy's he's just more the lovable. Natty Nord's very casual. He goes with the flow. Yeah. He's a
hippie. We can say it. Yeah. He's a
hippie. You want to go to hang out and have a good time, just go hang out with Natty Nord. There's going to be a good hangout. There's going to be some good puffs, if you will.
Okay.
He's going to hit this guy up. He's old Natty Nord. All right. That guy's just a good old time. Good old time to hang around.
Sure. All right. Cool. Well, I hope that answers your question, Baldy. Yes. Thanks for writing.
I gotta say one last fact about Butch Mahoney. Okay. Name a character that you get more in-game compliments on than old Butch Mahoney.
Oh man, yeah, I nailed the fashion on this guy. People walk up to me, I'm just standing around random places, like, dude, this guy is awesome.
Guy is fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah. There's been times that I'm like in voice chat with people, and we're just like running around in Imperial City, and they'd be like, dude, your fashion is awesome, man.
I'm just like, I love the look of this guy.
Yeah, this is the only tune I ever get that on.
So good.
All right, so yeah, scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. Please write us emails. We have a guild. The guild's name is Stoon's Goons. It is literally the best PvP guild in the game. Also just so happens to be the best names guild on the PCNA, Xbox NA, and PlayStation NA servers. We're on all three. Right. It's also the official guild of the Scrolling Podcast. I don't have it all written
We got
down
it.
here.
We got it. We got it. We're getting there.
If you'd like to join the guild, scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. Just send us an email and we'll send you an invite. If you're on a different platform or if your guild list is full, that's okay. The Discord is the true home of the guild. Everyone who's on the Discord is a fully fledged goon. We just had that Guild Wars guild event a few nights ago. There were, a handful of people signed up for that are not, in the guild end game. It's all good.
Yeah, they're in the guild in our hearts.
In our hearts, where it counts. Being in the guild end game just makes things easier for like group invites and stuff like that. But so encouraged, but not required. Scrollingpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll send you an invite to the guild or the Discord or both. If you'd like to support the show, the main way you can do that is go to patreon.com/scrollingpodcast. Sign up to receive Stoon's Boon for $3 a month. That gets you access to the Booncast, which is a shorter solo podcast that I do on the off weeks. So you get something every week. Also do build spotlights, and there's sometimes artwork, and you can download the intro and outro music and things like that. So patreon.com/scrollingpodcast. You can also make a one-time donation, non-recurring payment. Just go to paypal.me/scrollingpodcast. You can donate as little or as much as you like. You can find that link in the description. You can also find it on our website, scrollingpodcast.com. We're official. So if you're trying to spread the word, that's a really great way to help us out. And the easiest way to do that is just give people that link, scrollingpodcast.com. It has all the platforms where you can listen. It has our email address. It has the ways that you can support us. You can even listen to the show right there on the website if you want to, just to check it out. So yeah, just share that on social media or send it to a friend or whatever. You can also give us a star rating and a written review on Apple Podcasts. It just makes our show appear higher up in search results. And really the best thing anybody can do is just join the community. Come play ESO with us, be our friends. We're playing pretty much every single day. And a lot of what we talk about on the show is a result of conversations and experiences that we have with our friends playing ESO. So everyone who joins the community is very much contributing directly to the show. So scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. Davis, you want to read the shout outs for us?
It's shout out time. It's that time.
I'll start
out with the shout out to Chat, Pelham Whitestrake, or Wendy's Chili, as some know him by.
Sure.
He's been known to go by both. But thank you for being here. We always have a lot of fun with people joining.
With the new recording schedule, it's a different crowd now. With the new recording schedule, different people are available now.
Everybody, hold up your cups of coffee. We got this morning recording. It's going well. Shout out to just recent people we've played with. Uncle Sam, Maddie Quinn, Ironworks, Ricky Base, Slavka, 60, Knox DeVille, FK, Wanna Buy My Dog, Silver, Binks. Shout out to everybody who signed up for the Goon Wars. We had a great turnout for that. I think we even had a couple fill-ins that worked out. Been so much fun lately. Just playing with everybody and everybody joining together always makes for a great time. Shout out to the Elder Goons, the OG, the original. And don't worry, you stick with us long enough, you can become an Elder Goon yourself. Don't worry.
You too.
It can happen. You too can be an Elder Goon. Shout out to you all. Thank you all so much for just the long time support. Thank you all for being here, staying active, and just continuing to be a great, great community. And then lastly, shout out to our Stoon's Boons member, if you will. The Boon. What did you say earlier? The Boon Goons?
The Booner Goons?
The Booner Goons? Oh, they're getting a nickname for sure. Shout out to them. Thomas, GrizzlyCon, Gummy Bear, Toadster, Pork Body, Taggart, Mother of Dragons, Jim, Sudica, Maxwell, Derpin Stuff, Brewerman, Dudagon, Redheaded Monster, Chumpy, John E. Danger, Joe, FK, and a new addition, Bulby37. That's getting to be a legit list. I actually needed the Jim break on that one.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you gave Jim, what he was due there. It was good.
Jim's a special place on that list. He will
kind of skimped last time.
Yeah, I apologize. I gave it a good length. I really needed it this time. But thank you all so much for the continued support.
Yeah, it helps so much. Okay, well, I guess that's pretty much the end. Did you have anything else before we go?
I don't think so. I think we did it. The new Saturday podcast, successful. We did it.
Feels good. I like it. Okay. Yep. Well, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.